this video is about a company called Patrol Base Abbate. Um, but before we get started into that, I wanted to share something with everybody that I've never said on camera. It's a bit of my personal story, why this channel Zeroed in Golf even exists, and it really ties into the mission, uh, and what PBA is doing in people's lives. So, um, to get started, we'll go back to when I got out of the Army in 2012. I really found it difficult for a couple years to find a decent job. I was drinking myself to sleep most nights, um, and I ended up actually getting a girl pregnant intentionally, as odd as that may seem, through that process. So, looking back now on that, I realized that, that essentially was my call for help. That was me trying to find my reason, trying to find, the motivation to keep going. Um, I eventually took the military off of my resume. So I don't know if this was, strictly coincidence or just because I'd been out of the job market for a while, but I took the military off my resume, ended up landing a job with a power contractor uh, who worked for a power company. So moved out there. It was a pretty good job. Um, had a good time out there, but eventually moved back to Tennessee. So I was stationed at Fort Campbell. And when I got out of the military, I lived in the Clarksville area and the Kentucky area for quite a while. The power job took me over to South Carolina as we were building a transmission line going through Columbia. So eventually, moved back to Tennessee, which is where I found my now wife, Nicole Moore. Absolutely amazing woman. I thank God every morning that I wake up, that He put her in my path, and that we met. She is. You'll see in the video later, when we did our sandbags at PBA. This woman, she's my rock and my foundation. Continues to put me on her shoulders and carry me. When I'm going through it, or in times where I'm weak, and she is the most selfless person that I know. Sacrifices herself for her family on a daily basis. Um, so yeah, this is about the 2016-2017 time frame. I found the VGA, the Veteran Golfers Association. Kind of talked to Nicole a little bit about it, and she was like, "You should join." And she kind of talked me into joining. It wasn't really something that I wanted to join to begin with. The VGA was kind of familiar to me because I played golf growing up. Um, so getting back into that was that part of it was easy, but the meeting the new people, talking to folks and building relationships wasn't really something that I was extremely looking forward to say the least. But joined the VGA, the Tennessee chapter. Met some really good guys, Tori McClurg, Kevin Reyes, and Doug Burhans. Doug is actually the director for the Tennessee State chapter of the VGA. Built some really great relationships there. We're still all really good friends. Tori and Kevin actually go on the annual guys golf trip that I do every year. So we have a great time. And that was my first look into getting back into a community. Right, I had been pretty much self-isolating from 2012, 2013 up until that point. Really up until I met Nicole, which still I still wasn't getting plugged in or getting involved anywhere. So the VGA was kind of the initial handout to me that helped pull me out of um, where I was at. So after building those relationships and being a part of that community, um, I've kind of come out on the other end, right? I have a great job. We have a great family. We have 3 kids and 2 dogs. Our oldest daughter, actually, we just moved into college, University of Tennessee, the other weekend. So now we're one child light in the house, but really just come out on the other side. And the purpose of the channel is really me extending that hand to others, right? Whether that's personally, one-on-one with me and somebody else, or whether that's somebody just coming on the channel, watching one of the videos about the VGA, the PGA Hope, or this video about Patrol Base Abbate, and jumping in and getting plugged into one of those communities, right? That's the hope, and that's the goal. So on to Patrol Base Abbate. So really great foundation. The patrol base is out in Montana. Um, and essentially they do several events throughout the year. They're called RTB events. So RTB stands for Return to Base. And that is essentially, for all of us military folks, when we're, when we're out on patrol, overseas on a deployment, or just on a mission in general, and you get the call to, that says, the mission's over, the patrol's over, come back. That's the return to base call, right? So you return to base and you get inside the wire. Inside the wire is essentially, your safe zone, or our safe zone. So that's what, that's essentially what that's referring to, right? Is Patrol Base Abbate is the safe zone, right? You're inside the wire. And that's the basis around that. So the one that I went to was the RTB Golf Club. So we went up to Montana, and I personally just thought, we were, this was just going to be a fun time with a bunch of dudes, and we were just going to play some golf. And that was the initial thought for me, was I was just going to go up to Montana, play some golf, come back and do a video about, about the organization, and tell folks about PBA and what they're all about. But what I actually got from that trip was something far greater, and far deeper. I didn't even really know that I needed it. Right. So before I left, I thought I was in a really good place and had a handle on everything. But throughout the days in Montana, I realized that really wasn't the case. So where I went up there just to, do a video and document an organization, that organization changed some things and helped me fight and face some things inside of me. So it is completely free for any veteran that gets accepted. So once they send out the events, the RTB events, there's an application process. So you do the application. Quick application tip. There are some personal questions in the application. It would behoove you to be as detailed as possible with those questions, because that's their initial look, is the application and how you respond to those questions. So if they have an event where they take 30 people and they close it once they get 60 applicants, you're in a pool of 60 applicants. You want your application to stand out, right? So you want to be as honest and as truthful when you're filling those out as you can, and provide as much detail as you can provide while you're doing those applications. If they pick your application out of the bunch, you'll do a one-on-one interview with me. In my case, it was the person that was leading the RTB Golf Club event, which was Chris Masterson. So called me, we had a one-on-one conversation, probably 20, 30 minutes, something like that. So after that one-on-one interview, then they actually pick the folks that are going to go on the RTB event. So once you get picked, they book and they pay for your flights. If you have a rewards number or something like that, you can plug that in and use it. I did that. It was pretty simple. Don't have to worry about rental cars or anything like that. They'll pick you up from the airport. You'll drive up to the patrol base, and then that is your home for however long the event is. The golf club event was, we flew in Tuesday, we flew out on a Saturday. So yeah, that's the initial process. So once you get there, they'll kind of outline the event for you, whatever that event is. For us, we had in the morning, You get up, everybody kind of sat around the fire in the morning, drank some coffee. Then we had a yoga session, which ended up being a lot of folks' favorite part of the day, starting with that yoga session, which, a lot of us obviously wasn't expecting and definitely didn't think that would be, our favorite part of the day. But the yoga session, then you eat breakfast after that. And then after breakfast, everybody kind of loads up and you go out to do whatever your event is. So for us, it was golf. We'd load up, we'd go out to the golf course and play golf the majority of the day. Then you come back to the base after your event time during the day. Shower, whatever. You have dinner around 6 o'clock, and then another yoga session. And then after that yoga session, you have your fireside chats. So in the video later, you'll see that I have like some clips and some videos and things like that from the process. You'll notice there's nothing from the fireside chat. So the fireside chat is very private. It's a very private time of the trip and the day. So, no photos, no videos, nothing like that. Actually, Kevin requested everybody leave their cell phone in the cabins or put them on the picnic tables, kind of where we sit and eat. That was away from the campfire. And then you have your fireside chat. So Kevin Fallon is the one that led our fireside chat. He's the COO of Patrol Base Abbate. Extremely involved in the programs. Absolutely great dude. Shout out to you, Kevin. I don't really have words, to be honest with you, for what happened around those fireside chats. But what I can tell you is I certainly was not expecting that. If you're going through something, if you're struggling with something, whether it's suicide or whether it's self-harm or whether it's something, personal that's not even military related that's going on in your life, man, that PBA is a great organization to get involved with. The community is absolutely phenomenal. Like there was a WhatsApp group that got started, that Chris started before anybody left to go on this RTB, and we're Sunday, Monday, 3 days after everybody's gotten home. Some people had some flight delays, so maybe 2 days for some folks, but people still in the chat daily, just texting and talking and staying connected together. So the community there is real, and PBA is PBA is without a doubt the most real and the most sincere veteran organization that I've been a part of to date. It's just crazy to sit here and recount the days in Montana, and there's some things that are really that didn't really hit me at the time, but a couple days later, or later that evening when everybody's kind of in the cabin. It's a communal cabin, so all the guys are in one cabin, all the girls are in another cabin, and you're just kind of sitting on your cot, before you go to bed, and you're just kind of thinking about the fireside chat, what was said, what were the challenges that were posed. And the first night we were there, Kevin gave us a couple challenges. One was, throughout your time up here in Montana, find some time during the day to feel small. That was challenge number one. Challenge number two was, find some time throughout the day to feel some gratitude and some self-love. That was challenge number two. Challenge number three was take some time to be present. All three of those, when he said those, you're just kind of sitting there and you're like, yep, cool, yep, tracking, yep, I can understand that. But I tell you what, man, throughout the days, and even yesterday, I did this, and it's so much more impactful than what it sounds like, right? I mean, being present, that is super difficult this day and age, at least for me personally. With 3 kids, I work from home, and I work for an Australian computer software company. So I work in all different time zones. We got Australia, we got teams in the Philippines and India, we got teams stateside from the East Coast to the West Coast. So I work and do things in all different time zones. So sometimes being present seems impossible, but a part of our conversations, you don't really think about how that affects other people, right? Like my youngest son, talking to me, and I'm on my phone replying to an email, or I'm on my phone on Slack for work, or whatever, and then I have to say, what'd you say, buddy? Like, what were you talking about? It in the moment it doesn't seem like a big deal, right? Because you're working. But kids see that, right? That sticks with them. Was dad listening to me? Was dad attentive? Was dad paying attention? Was dad doing things with me? So, you know, on the way, I picked him up from school yesterday. On the ride back from home, I found myself at a red light. I'd gotten an email. I was reading an email, and Xander was in the back seat talking to me, and I found myself doing that. And then I turned my phone off, put it in the seat, and fixed the rearview mirror so that I could see him, and then fully gave him my attention. But it was that conversation from the RTV around that fireside chat that popped into my head. You need to be present. When you're having a bad day, when you're being stressful, just taking a minute or 2 minutes, which is nothing, but when you're in it, it feels like you don't have time for it. Just taking a minute or 2 minutes to sit down and think of something that you're grateful for, right? If you're having a bad day and you think that you're the problem and you're the most horrible person in the world, just taking 1 to 2 minutes and think about grace, giving yourself some grace, right? Think about something that you've done or that you do well, and try and get all that negativity out. There's so much negativity, throughout the world. But anyway, getting back to PBA. So that was the first night of the fireside chat, right? He gave us some challenges through that. And then it seemed like every fireside chat after that, you do one every night. Every fireside chat after that gets more deeper, it gets more personal. And there were no war stories that were told, right? This was all personal, individualized, personal things that we were talking about around the fireside chat. And it really hits home, to have a bunch of like-minded folks sitting around a fire, being vulnerable and being open and talking about things that we've probably never talked about before, or that we were really, really nervous and anxious to talk about. It was really incredible, and it's certainly not something that I thought was going to happen. I definitely did not think, we would have a group of, 20 some odd alpha males sitting around a campfire, being vulnerable and open and honest, and really, really doing some true meaningful healing is what it was all about. Absolutely incredible trip. I applied to the RTB and I went to Montana for the event, and I got 1,000 times more out of it than some golf. Absolutely incredible. I would not take that experience back for anything. It helped me deal with some of my own personal demons. And I came back home fully rejuvenated. Like I really can't put into words what that trip meant to me. So towards the end, on the last day, you sit around, do the fireside chat. You may have noticed in some of their pictures, there's sandbags that line the walkways. So that last fireside chat, there'd been some talks leading up to this one that kind of set the scene for it. But essentially, you're asked to think about and kind of pinpoint somebody in your life that you really admire, that you really look up to, somebody that's made an impact on your life. They could be they could be living or deceased. Um, and then they had sandbags and markers and things on the picnic tables there. So once you've sat there and thought about it, and you've decided who you want to put or who that person is, you go to the picnic table, you grab a sandbag, grab a marker, and you write that person's name on the sandbag, or you can write that person's name and whatever else you want to write on there. It could be more than one person. And then once you do that, you walk your sandbag over to the barn, and you fill your sandbag. So to me, what I got out of that was, when I was deployed, for some that may not be, foot soldiers or infantry or combat MOSs, when we're over in Afghanistan or Iraq, wherever you went, when you fill a sandbag, that sandbag is a meaningful item, right? It's a meaningful tool. You're filling that sandbag for security, you're filling it for safety, and you're filling it to keep things out, essentially, right? So that becomes whether it's a HESCO barrier and you're throwing sandbags inside the HESCO barrier, or whether it's just sandbags stacked on top of sandbags. Those sandbags are meant for protection, right? So as I'm walking over to the barn to fill my sandbag, I put the sandbag on the ground, grab my shovel, and I start filling the sandbag. And then what we're doing slowly starts to have a little more perspective to it, right? I'm not just, this is a great person, I love this person, I'm writing them on a sandbag, I'm throwing some sand and gravel in there, and I'm going to go, set it down on a rock wall, on a walkway, and that's going to be my meaningful, that's going to be my me meaningfully attributing to the event or the task or the mission. I stood there filling that sandbag, and it was, this person really is my security. For one, two, I'm filling the sandbag to keep this person secure, to protect this person. This person would do, anything for me. I said later on, after you fill the sandbag, you go back to the fireside chat, and then everybody has a turn to say, who they put on their sandbag and why they put on their sandbag. And I told a funny story about my wife. I won't go into the details of the story in the video, but so you fill your sandbag up, you tie it off, you walk your sandbag back to the walkway, and then you put your sandbag down, next to another. So, it's an extremely meaningful task to be a part of, especially when you sit down and you really think about the details of what you're doing instead of the action for what you're doing. And looking back at the RTB, everything that we did, everything that was said, it was all very intentional. I can kind of put the pieces together of some things and how they coordinate and work together to get to the end result. But I really can't put into words. I can't say enough about the program and the people that work that program. But not to leave you hanging or leave you in suspense, but going back to the sandbags, the person that I put on my sandbag is the person is my rock. They are my strength when I'm weak. They are my ride or die, and they are my best friend. And that person is my wife, Nicole Moore. That's who I chose to put on my sandbag. So I challenge you, as you listen to this, thinking about joining that newsletter for PBA. Think about, reaching out and, seeing about what events they have upcoming. I will tell you, when they post an event is open for an application, you better jump on it. Depending on the event, it could fill up in a day. So you really got to jump on it and pay attention. But if nothing else, think about those 3 challenges that Kevin gave us on the first day, right? Take some time throughout your day to feel small. Take some time throughout your day to be grateful, and take some time throughout your day to be present. And just doing those 3 things, you'll notice a bit of a difference in the monotony that our daily lives can become, in our 9-to-5 jobs or whatever job you make, right? It just becomes a routine sometimes, and we forget to stop and smell the roses, so to speak. We forget to stop and feel small. We forget to stop and be present. In a world with all of the technology and everything we have, cell phones, tablets, the computers, the gaming systems, the VR stuff, constantly running and gunning throughout the day, we forget to take some time for ourselves. It's really important to take some time for yourself. It doesn't have to be a whole day or half a day. It doesn't even have to be an hour. Just take a few minutes for yourself. Get yourself, back in balance. So get linked up, check them out, find an event. They're going to add some events. So if you go on their website and look at prior events, they're going to add some. I think they have some intention to add some other events to it. They do regional events in your area. If you want to reach out to me personally and try and get some info on it, you're more than welcome to reach out to me personally. I can shoot you some info, and I can also help you get signed up for that. I think I hit everything that I wanted to hit. Look, this channel is about helping folks find a community to get plugged into and get involved with. And I can't say enough good things about Patrol Base Abbate. I really can't. I mean, the absolute best veteran organization that I have had the blessing to be a part of and witness firsthand. Go for the event, right? If you like golf, if you like hunting, if you like fighting, if you like fishing, if you like running, go to one of the events and go for the event, and I guarantee you'll come out changed, whether you think you're going to or not. So yeah, without rambling any further, that's it for my spiel. I hope this reaches out and connects to some folks. Enjoy the rest of the video.
Towards the river?
Long ass way.
You just have the whole thing recording right now?
Yep. Oh, we're getting the commentary and everything.
Perfect. Frodo still got it. That would be great, actually. He's finally hit a good one. He goes, that thing's fucking in the river. Great shot, though.